Week 2 of practice, and boy, it looks like we have a quarterback battle on our hands.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider. Thank you for joining us today. On our show today, we're going to talk a lot about the first scrimmage of BC football during the spring. I'll have to give you all the highlights, names that came out of it. You're going to want to make sure you check that out. And additionally, we'll also talk about hockey. Hockey has their bracket, and we'll explain where they're going to go and what we think could be happening. And we'll get into all that on today's show, which is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. On Saturday, Boston College football held their first spring scrimmage in Fish Fieldhouse. And it was a packed affair, and there are lots to take from this scrimmage. Now, scrimmage, they put their pads on for the first time this week. They're getting into the swing of really getting into practice. Exciting times for Boston College as it's getting really, you're starting to feel it. It feels more like football, less like practice, and this scrimmage was no difference. Now, the biggest story to come out of this, and I'm not going to give you who the first and second stringers are going to be because I honestly don't even know now, is the play of the quarterbacks in the scrimmage. Now, you have Grayson James and Dillon Lonergan. Now, Grayson James is the incumbent. This is the guy that played all last year. He came in as the starter. He earned it. He unseated Thomas Castellanos, had a great month of November, played pretty well in the Pinstripe Bowl. But he has to earn it. This is his chance to earn that starting role. He's not just going to be handed to him because Bill O'Brien went out in the transfer portal this offseason, and he brings in former four-star Alabama quarterback Dillon Lonergan to challenge him. And everything that we're hearing about from the scrimmage, everything that we know about. My writer, Mike Sidley, was there. I talked to him about this. It looks like this is going to be a neck-and-neck battle. This right now, man, Dillon Lonergan, he's playing out there with Jaden Skeet. He's playing out there with Reed Harris throwing to those guys, but so is Grayson James. So both guys are getting chances to do everything. But what I've heard is that both Lonergan, he might have had a little bit of a better scrimmage. He made some big throws. He had a run for a touchdown. He's mobile too. So it's one scrimmage, folks. I am not going to overreact to one scrimmage. Well, maybe I do. Maybe that's part of what I do, but I'm going to try not to overreact here. But what I'm going to say here is that this is a battle now. This is not just Grayson James getting handed the job. And this is not just Dillon Lonergan getting an opportunity. He's earning it. He's doing what you want in this offense. He's making some throws. He's making some good reads. James is doing it too. So, you read the if you go over to Eagle Insider and read our observations from the scrimmage, both guys made plays. James had a little from what Mike was saying, had a little bit more trouble. I don't know. It's just one practice, but Lonergan really, it sounded impressive, and that's interesting. There's going to be a few more scrimmages. Unfortunately, there's no spring game this year, so you're not going to get to see this live, but I'm wondering to see if this is going to be a trend. Will Lonergan, make bigger throws, make less mistakes, and take it? We won't see who you know what? If I was to put on my betting hat, I bet, you get practice 15, right? The end of April or the middle of April, right? And we'll get Bill O'Brien there, and you ask him who's going to be your starting quarterback. I will guarantee you he will defer and not say anything. And I bet you the first 3 weeks of camp, he's going to defer and not say anything. It'll probably be until Fordham game week that we hear about it. To give him credit, I want to say he announced he announced Grayson James during the season, but I think he announced Castellanos pretty early. So there's a chance that if Grayson James goes out and earns this, they're going to tell it fast. But if this is going to continue the way that it is right now, we may not know about this until the first week of the season. They're gonna do that. That's that it's that gamesmanship. Make them prepare for both quarterbacks. If I was just the way things are run, just again, this is only the first few weeks, but the way things are running right now, I'm already looking ahead to the first depth chart for that Fordham game, and I'm already waiting to see Grayson James or Dillon Lonergan, and we have to wait till the team actually takes the field before we actually know who the starter is. I I could see it. This is could be one of those games. Was it Grosell and Djokovic? I think that Halfley did that with, where no one knew anything, and then all of a sudden it was Djokovic. I think this could happen again. Now, I also wanted to talk about Turbo. Of course, I want to talk about Turbo. Everyone wants to talk about Turbo. He, as Mike Sidley told me, he was the best offensive weapon Boston College had. Now, I've been hoping that's what he was going to become, but I am very excited. I loved Kai Robichaux, and Jordan McDonald's had his moments too, but it's been since AJ Dillon, since BC has had a game-changing running back, right? You've had some good ones, and I'm not bashing any of the guys that have been here. They've all had moments, and Pat Garwo had his time. Obviously, Kai, but who is when it's been since AJ that you've had a guy that came in here and just pounded the snot out of a defense and won games for you, and can do it in an explosive manner. Kai could do it with like 5-yard chunks at a time with an occasional big run here and there, but they were never the AJ Dillon, Andre Williams type. And I'm not saying Turbo is going to get to that level, but he's already starting to make me open my eyes. Like the fact that he's running through defenses, the fact that the word explosive continues to come out. When I saw him, he looked explosive. When Mike saw him, he looked explosive. It's a common thread with him. Like this is something that's going on here. And hopefully, my hope is that this is on him and that he's doing well. The offensive line is doing well. And again, it's hard at a scrimmage to see, you're in Fish Fieldhouse, you're level with the offensive line. When they're practicing in there, it's really, really hard to see how the offensive versus defensive line is going because all you see is just a straight line of guys. It's not really easy to see. But my point here is Turbo's is making those plays. And I think he's going to be your starting running back. And I'm curious to see how much Bill O'Brien, if he is your guy, will lean more heavily on him than he did with Kai last year. Because remember, Kai for most of the year, it was a Batman and Robin with Jordan McDonald, Turbo at times, and Trayshawn Ward earlier in the season. Like they never made Kai Robichaux into like a 40 touch running back. Will they make Turbo a 30 touch running back every game? I'm very interested because I'm very excited. Having a game changer on defense last year, Donovan Azaraku won you games. Having a game changer on offense, if Turbo is that guy, if Turbo is the guy that comes in and just dominates and is untouchable in a lot of these games, and maybe even holds on to win against some of the bigger teams, he's just going to make everyone around him even that better. Like if it's Grayson James or Dillon Lonergan, like if your defense, if Turbo is as good as advertised, and defenses have to scheme on him, that's going to make Lewis Bond better. It's going to make Reed Harris better. It's going to make VJ Wilkins better. And your tight end, if it's, Jeremiah Franklin, like all of these guys are going to be able to get better just because it's the same effect that Azaraku had last year, right? Everyone had to scheme to him. But if Turbo is that guy, if Turbo can show that he is a game-changing running back, this is going to make this team very fun. And it gives your offense something it didn't have last year. The offense had its moments last year, but didn't have a game changer. Reed Harris showed it at points, but he was more of like a big catch guy. Turbo is a every down, like watch this dude type of guy. BC's got something here. It's going to be fun to watch. In our second segment, I want to talk about the defense. You guys keep asking about it. I have some thoughts. And special teams is getting me giddy. Why are they getting me giddy? I'll tell you in a little bit. Daylight savings snuck up on us again, and if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with a busy day, 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick me up whenever you need it. I've been staying up late watching the tournament. There's so many fun games. I just watched Maryland with Derek Queen winning on a buzzer beater. That was fun, but they keep me up. And that next day, I need a pick me up, and that's what 5 Hour Energy is all about. 5hourenergy.com. Check it out to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12 and 24 pack delivered right to your door. Need one right now? 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up and stay energized today. Locked on Boston College, AJ Black here. Check out Eagle Insider. That's my other site. That's my written work, and I have a staff of writers that are doing great work. We have VIP, we have free stuff. The free stuff, we have some hockey coverage up right now. We'll have some lacrosse, baseball will be up probably in the morning before you even watch this, and we have a scrimmage coverage. Scrimmage coverage more in depth is VIP. But right now on Eagle Insider, you can get VIP for 50% off. That's a cup of coffee a month. If you've not already signed up, it's a great deal. It's we give you analysis, recruiting. You got all access to Mitch, who's giving you all sorts of great stuff. Our message board has scoops all the time. It's worth it. Check out Eagle Insider and sign up for your 50% off because the deal ends very soon. Now, we've been focusing a lot on the offensive side of the ball, but the defense has also been making plays. And during the scrimmage, they made a bunch of sacks, which makes me happy because when your defensive line makes plays, hey, that shows you they're going in the right direction. Because when you're watching a scrimmage, when you're watching a football team play themselves, what you want to see is hopefully an evenly scrimmage match. That shows you that your defense makes some plays, your offense makes some plays, they're pretty even. You don't want one unit making the other one look stupid. And that's not what happened on Saturday. The defense did make some good plays. They had, as I said, 4 sacks. Did a strip sack, and I think it was Clive Wilson, who is a name I think we should be talking about more. Now, Clive Wilson is an edge rusher, and I talked about him on a previous episode, but I need to bring him up again because he seems to be popping up more and more because he's finally healthy. He came in a couple years ago as a very under the radar recruit. I don't think he had a 247 page when he first committed. And he got hurt and has missed most of the last couple seasons. Now I think he's a redshirt junior. He's been here for 3 years. He's big, he's powerful, and he's healthy. And that's what you need out of an edge rusher because he's talented too. Jeff Hafley loved this guy, called him explosive. He was a guy that Hafley kept saying, watch out for him, but he just never was healthy. Now he's healthy. And I like what he could bring. You pair him up with Quintavious Hutchins, and maybe that's your answer. Maybe that's your other edge that you need because you need somebody to get that pass rush going. And he seems like he's doing it. So that's encouraging. Additionally, other guys that made plays, Josiah Griffin. That's the brother of Joseph Griffin, the 4-star wide receiver who transferred out middle last year before heading over to Wisconsin, where he was deemed ineligible and didn't play all last year. Well, Josiah is here, and that's the younger brother, and he is edge rusher as well. He was someone I heard a lot about last summer. Like the staff had a lot of great things to say about him, but we just never saw him. So maybe he has a sack too. So maybe he's going to pop up and make some big plays. I just haven't seen him. So I honestly, I did not see him during the game, but he did make a sack during the scrimmage. So that's a good thing. That again, good signs. Those are what you want to see. Additionally, I think, the linebacking core is what people keep asking me about. I keep saying, they're banged up. They're really banged up right now. There's a bunch of guys that are out. They're playing a lot, a lot of Tim Hayes and it was Brennan Duke, I think his name is. They've got the running back Vaughn Pemberton playing linebacker. They're shallow right now, but I think once the guys get back, they'll be okay during the summer. So not a lot I can talk about with linebackers because it's just not the right unit right now. On the secondary side of the ball, The name that pops up twice, two names that have popped up a lot. I've seen Ashton McShane popping up a lot. And this is no surprise. If you watched last year, this is a guy that was, true freshman, popped out there, came in during the fall, I believe, picked things up real fast. He makes a big play during the scrimmage. I think it was an interception. The other name that had also popped up a bunch so far is true freshman TJ Green. Now, this is a track star cornerback out of Ohio. Really, really fast kid. And he's made a few plays so far. So, it's early, so I don't know where he'll play. He's playing against guys like Shaker Razek right now, excuse me. So, he may have to move up, but he's been there since the beginning of the spring. Amari Jackson, I don't believe, has been practicing yet, so you haven't seen him. So TJ Green's been able to get in there, but you need depth. So this is a good one I'm really interested to see is TJ Green. Now, let's get to the special teams from the scrimmage because, again, disaster last year. Either field goals where you weren't kicking them or you're punting where you wish they wouldn't kick them. You just wasn't doing it. You weren't doing anything right. Now, it seems like things are slotting more into where guys can do what they do well. Liam Connor is just focusing on extra points and field goals right now. Yay. And he was, Mike Sidley was saying he was doing really well with his field goals, very accurate. And he also did some kickoffs. But I think hopefully the punting experiment will be over for him. So it's good. Hopefully if Liam Connor can just focus on his field goals, not have to worry about punting, not worrying. It felt like it was the Liam Connor show near the end of last year where he had to do everything. Now you have other specialists out there that can help him out. So hopefully if he just has to focus on his field goals, he can give you something a little bit more consistent. He doesn't have the biggest foot in the world for field goals, but I think if he can just be accurate, 40, 42 yards out, that's more than you can ask for. That would be great. Instead of having to force a lot of fourth downs when you don't need to. So that's one good thing. And then, of course, our favorite person that we talk about on the show, Andy Quinn from Galway, Ireland in the NFL Academy. He did two things. He punted and he kicked off. Now, punting, again, Mike said the ball comes off his foot different than any punter on that team. And to me, that's all I need to hear right now is that you got a guy with a big leg and he has a big leg. I'm like giddy right now to think of what BC could be like if they could punt the ball. Like how many times last year did we watch this team punt the ball 20 yards and then fail to flip the field like they should be? If Quinn can give them 44 yards, like 45 yards, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. Heck, I'll take 42 yards per punt. That would be awesome too. So, I'm getting greedy here. I think that when you put your defense in a much more favorable position, it's going to cause more chaos and give you more points. And he kicks the ball harder than anyone else on this roster this year or last year. And I've said this before. Ivan Zvanko last year at times were kicking the ball, but it didn't feel like it does with Andy Quinn. Like the kicks that he hits are at a whole other level. Now he's a freshman. It's the third week of camp. I don't want to overhype this kid, but this was the missing piece last year. You have to think that BC would have won 8 games last year if they could have punted the ball. I go back to the Louisville game. I think that was the one where they just were not punting at all. Like they just could not punt. They lost that because of that. The UVA game, they couldn't punt there either. Like the games that they lost, they were struggling. They could have won 8 if they had a punter. It's going to help them win games. So I get excited about this. I'm sorry. And then you get VJ Wilkins returning kicks again. This guy's good. This guy's got something. This guy he's something. So I'm very excited about this. There was a lot of positives to take from this camp. And again, I'm not getting into the lines because right now I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to tell during camp where their lines are at. So I'm not going to project who's where. And I can't tell you really how well the offense versus the defensive line is doing just in these little nuggets. We need to see more. I need to see more before I can make an assessment. Now, in our final segment, let's get into hockey. It's March Madness, but on the ice rink. Imagine watching your favorite team live, feeling the energy of the crowd and witnessing unforgettable moments. There's nothing like experiencing a big game in person. Getting tickets shouldn't be stressful. That's where Game Time comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last minute tickets at unbelievable prices. With Game Time Picks, curation makes it easier to find better value for tickets to sports, concerts, comedy, theaters, etc. And I just checked my Game Time app, and there are amazing deals on some upcoming Red Sox games and Celtics games. Got me looking. Maybe I want to take my family to a game soon. So super deals, the lowest prices, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Locked on Boston College, AJ Black, and thank you all. The amount of listeners that have reached out and have that my everydayers out there that have listened to this show every single day. It touches me that you've chosen to make Locked On First Boston College your first listen every day. If you're looking for another episode of something else other than me, and if you have missed a few episodes, go back and check them out. But if you're looking for something else cool, check out Locked On College Basketball. It's hosted by Isaac Shade, who also hosts Locked On Heels. With the tournament going, you're not going to want to miss what he has to say. And here's a little bit more of some of the other stuff that you can find on the network.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Check it out on Amazon Fire. I'm telling you, it's a great show. Now, for us Boston College fans, the depression and sadness that goes into March Madness is about to fade away as the Frozen Four NCAA college hockey tournament has announced their bracket. And Boston College knows that they're going to be playing in Manchester, New Hampshire on Friday at 2 p.m. against Bentley College. Yep, Bentley College. They are and I'm not going to put any damper on this matchup. BC is the number 1 overall ranked school. They are the top ranked school, the 4th time in school history that this has happened. A very cool moment for Greg Brown and his program. Even if you didn't win the Hockey East title, which you hoped you would have, Maine ended up doing that. You still got this. And this tournament is wide open. BC's played well, but they're not the dominant team that they have been in like 2012 or even last year. Like last year, they felt like the overall odds-on favorite. They don't feel that special this year. So this makes this tournament really interesting because there's a ton of good teams out there, whether it's Maine or your own bracket. If you beat Bentley, who is, as I said, red hot, they beat a heavily favored Holy Cross team to basically have a miracle run to the tournament. I think it's their first tournament game ever. If you beat them, you then play the winner of Providence or Denver. Now, if you have already had your therapy and forgot, repressed your memory of last year's national championship game, Denver was the team that beat you soundly. You could be getting them in the second round. So this is going to be a tough tournament. And BC, they've had their moments, but they've also been inconsistent. Their offense is very top heavy. There's one line that's been really good, and the rest have not really been all that successful. So, I'm worried that this is not going to be a easy beginning of the tournament. Like you're playing BC's played 3 games in the last 27 days. You're playing against a Bentley team that is scorching hot right now and has all the momentum in the world because they're playing out of their minds. So there's a chance that you could run into a very, very upset-minded Bentley team. So you're going to have, good games from Jacob Fowler and Ryan Leonard. Who, speaking of which, how did Jacob Fowler not be a top 10 finalist for the Hobie Baker? He's the best goalie in the country by far, and he was left off. That was stupid. So sorry, rant right there. But Ryan Leonard, Hobie Baker finalist, Jacob Fowler, Mike Richter finalist should be the winner. You got to have a big game. You're going to have big games from guys like that. And Gabe Perreault, guys like that. You're going to have some big games. So that first game's on Friday. It's a 2 p.m. game. So if you're working in an office, make sure you get your YouTube TV, signed up on your laptop or on your phone, because many of you guys are going to be working. I hate that that's what's happening, but hey, they do it with basketball too. So thank you all for listening. We'll be back again tomorrow with some pro day discussion. The pro day will be happening. I should have Mitch Wolf on to talk about the results. If we get the results, cross your fingers, we do. And we'll be here on Locked On BC. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. I'm also on Blue Sky. I am on Threads. I am on Facebook. I am on Instagram. I'm everywhere. You can't miss me. Hit that like and subscribe button. And my challenge to all you everydayers out there: find your best Boston College friend, someone who loves football just like you do, or the basketball team, and share my podcast with them. Tell them about it. It helps us grow. I want Locked On BC to be one of the top Locked On shows on the network, but I need your help to do that. So make sure you recommend us to a friend. Thank you all, and I'll see you all again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.